Oh yeah, we up in this piece. That's how we roll, son. I hope you guys had a nice weekend. I had a 3-day weekend. It was pretty nice. I wish I did more, but I enjoy doing nothing. And I will tell you about more of the nothing that I have done in a moment. If you haven't done it yet, check out the subscribe button located somewhere. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. All right, we're about a minute past, so that is time for us to get started. Let's go ahead and remind the interwebs of the journey. Let's see. We have a lot to go over tonight, so we got to go faster rather than slower. We got to do better rather than do worse. And we have to be dope and do some dope shit. We live. Oh, Tay.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Welcome back to Popcorn Poppin'. I am your host, with the mostest, the man with the plan, the cool dude with the cool hair. I don't think it's that cool, the hair being. Let's see how it looks. It looks all right. I guess I was really just in chill mode when I framed this up last time. Good evening and welcome back to Popcorn Poppin'. This is your weekly guide of what to watch, when to watch, where to watch it, because you are too busy to watch anything that ain't worth your time. So let me be the time waster of your life for you by watching all of everything on streaming and in theaters in order to let you know what's poppin' and what ain't. Tonight's spotlight film will be Mission Impossible 17, which stars Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt. And I am your host, Ethan Cunt, to go over everything. Before we get to that movie, we're going to go over what's poppin', what's burnt, what's on right now, what's coming out next weekend. All these things will be happening soon. But first, let's do a recap of some news that happened recently. This is so difficult when you don't have it all together. Do 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 do. There we go. Whoop. All right, the Emmys. The Emmy nominees list is out, and I'm not going to go over each one by one. I think it'd just be a waste of time. So I figured it'd just be smart to just let you know what shows and TV, what movies and television shows are worth watching and where to watch them. So I'm going to go over this list real quick. Better Call Saul, AMC. House of the Dragon, Max. Last of Us, Max. Succession, Max. White Lotus, second season, not the first, Max. Yellow Jackets, Showtime, or you can watch it on Paramount Plus. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Prime Video. It's kind of worth it. It's very funny. Only Murders in the Building, pretty funny on Hulu. Ted Lasso's final season on Apple TV Plus. Wednesday on Netflix. Barry, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the final season, people fucking love it. It is very different. It is a drama in that last season, but the rest of it is a perfect dark comedy. You can watch that on Max. Poker Face on Peacock. Shrinking on Apple TV Plus. Beef on Netflix. Blackbird on Apple TV Plus. Prey on Hulu. Swarm on Amazon Prime. Black Lady Sketch Show on Max. Selective Outrage, the Chris Rock special on Netflix. And John Mulaney's Baby J on Netflix. Here's some snubs, in my opinion. Betty Gliplin in Mrs. Davis, which you can watch on Peacock. I think the show is pretty worth it, but I will say her acting definitely deserved an Emmy nom. Harrison Ford for Shrinking. He's hilarious in Shrinking. As you know, Harrison Ford is a pretty good actor, but he's also a very funny guy. Paddy Considine, probably pronouncing it wrong. He played the old, decrepit man in House of the Dragon. Everyone was talking to him so much about his great acting. I don't know how he wasn't nominated. And Atlanta wasn't nominated for their best season. So shout out to Dong Lover for not getting the Emmy nomination for that, but getting one for, I believe, writing for Swarm. Some things that got my attention that I will be interested in watching soon that I have not watched. Miss Pat, which is on BET Plus, Jury Duty on Freevee or Prime Video, The Bear on Hulu. I've watched some of it so far. I know I got to watch more of it. There is also Fleischman is in Trouble on Hulu. Welcome to Chickendales on Hulu. The Diplomat on Netflix. I really, really love Kerry Russell. The other two on Max, Bad Sisters on Apple TV Plus. I'm pretty excited to watch that. Primal, which is on Adult Swim, which you can watch on Max. And Trevor Noah's stand-up special, I Wish You Would, on Netflix. So let's talk about other news. The Screen Actors Guild is finally on strike. They're going to be joining the Writers Guild, and there were some interesting revelations about this. If you don't know what the big hoopla is, it's mostly the conversation about AI and how it's going to be related to how movies are going to be made in the future, which will be very, very different. It'll be very, very soon. And one of the things that they have offered studio-wise is for actors to come in just one day, film their scenes, and sign off and get paid for the rights of their face to be used and duplicated for like background shots or future movies, but only doing one day of work, which means you're not going to get paid that much because you're not working that much. So it's very interesting. There's no word on how long it's going to go on for, but it's probably going to go on for a very long time. Plus, it's also been recently like surfaced that Hollywood believes that studios are going to hold off, at least for the Writers Actors Guild, until fall, because that's when they think that they're going to be, getting kicked out of their apartments for not paying rent because they're on strike. We'll see how long this goes on. This is a very big deal, and people should be paying more attention to it. Other news, there was some more Superman Legacy casting. We already know that Mrs. Maisel will be Lois Lane, and some other dude's going to be Superman that you never really seen before. But we also have these three actors, and I will tell you their names in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. David Corrin Sweat as Clark Kent. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, who is a Green Lantern. A lot of people are saying he's too old for the role, but I'm sure James Gunn's going to make a way for this to work. Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl, and Eddie Gathege as Mr. Terrific. I've seen these actors before. I'm more familiar with Nathan Fillion, but I am definitely more familiar with Anthony Cardigan. Cardigan? I don't know. It's Kerrigan from Barry. He's hilarious. I'm very excited to see him do a James Gunn superhero that's probably going to have a lot of comedy in as well. Speaking of some superhero news, the new huge picture that's been going on is Deadpool 3's picture of Deadpool and Wolverine because of Wolverine's OG costume. You heard. People are pissed off about his sleeves. People are pissed off that he's not wearing the mask. Just be happy that we got Wolverine and Deadpool in a movie together, because I am. We already know that Wolverine's going to be in it, and we also know that Jennifer Garner's Elektra is going to be in it. So it's pretty exciting stuff. I'm excited. And I'm also excited for Gen V that's going to be coming in September. Apparently, there's some sort of preview that revealed that it is going to be coming in September without them actually revealing when the date is going to be. Gen V is the spin-off series of The Boys, which their new season is probably not going to come out till next year. So we're going to have to just be settled with this spin-off series of Gen V. Now let's do some recap of some shows that are on right now, and just to let you know of how they're doing and what I'd recommend without getting into too much detail, because I've gone into too much detail before. I finally finished Dave, which is the Lil Dicky fictionalized show. Excellent series. I see why so many people told me to watch. Hurry up and finish it, because that finale, which, spoiler alert, has Brad Pitt. It is one of the best episodes of television you'll ever watch. I highly recommend watching the show in general, but just that episode. It's so wild. You think there's not a lot of Brad Pitt, but there is, and he knocks it out of the park. So does Dave, and so does the the other person in it. And so is Gata. Gata was great in it too, and he wasn't in it that much. So great show, great ending. I'm hoping that they're having another season. I'm sure they will be. Finally started the new season of Righteous Gemstones, which stars Danny McBride, Adam Devine, John Goodman, and Edie Patterson. It's a great televangelist show that's basically a comedic Succession. I know Succession had comedy, but this is definitely funnier and darker. I like it a lot. You can check it out. New episodes Sundays at 10 on HBO or just Max. The Horror of Dolores Roach. Still haven't finished, but the whole season is now on Amazon Prime. I'm assuming it's just going to be one season. It is basically a new take on Sweeney Todd, but with a little twist. There is Hijack, which stars Idris Elba, who is on a 7-hour trip from Dubai to America, or to, somewhere. I can't remember where. But the plane gets hijacked. And this is a television series, mind you. And each episode takes place in real time. So that's one reason the show is a lot more thrilling than most series with this kind of storyline. So think about it as 24, but with Idris Elba. Pretty dope. 10-year-old Tom, I will probably stop mentioning the show. It's because I'm still finishing up. It's still great. It's a great animation show. If you like Adult Swim, or if you like Life and Times of Tim, I highly recommend checking out this series. It's great. The whole, both seasons are on Max. Secret Invasion, Wednesdays on Disney Plus. This is MCU's current show, and it sucks. It's boring. I said that I liked the pacing, but I hated the last episode. They introduced a storyline where Nick Fury was married, and they introduced it and then immediately ended the storyline. I fell asleep 2 or 3 times watching the new episode. It's not that great. I'm sorry, guys. I was voting for. I love you, Sam. I love Samuel L. Jackson. So let's just say that this show is worth it just for him. But in general, it's fucking boring. Also, I'm a Virgo. I almost said virgin. I'm a virgin. What gave it away? I'm not a virgin. Am I? Anyways. Sorry, I needed snacks. I'm a Virgo. Whole season's on Amazon Prime. Written, directed by Boots Riley, who did Sorry to Bother You. So it's a great, surreal television series. I highly recommend it. I'm still finishing it up. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. New season Wednesdays at 10 p.m. on FXX. Next day on Hulu. The season's still great. They had a Chuck E. Cheese episode recently. It was hilarious. Platonic has ended its season on Apple TV Plus. You can watch the whole thing there. Great show. The show ended with an ending. It had an ending. It doesn't need a second season, but I'd watch a second season. I hope it gets another one. And here are some honorable mentions of television or movies that are out now that I have not watched that you might find interesting, or that I will watch and just haven't had the time to watch. Theater Camp. It's based on a short film. It looks pretty funny. There's The Flood, which is basically Assault on Precinct 13 with a giant crocodile. You can rent this on streaming. I think it looks terrible, but good bad, like a Sharknado type of thing. And there is Sound of Freedom. I've only heard amazing things about this movie. It seems primarily focused on audiences that happen to be Republican. That's what I think is going on. Apparently, it's based on a true story, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just noticed that a lot of hardcore Republicans are really excited for this, and a lot of Democrats are like, what is this movie? So I find that interesting. I don't know what it means, but I hear great things, and I'm not that excited to watch it. I've watched the trailer, and it doesn't really entice me, but it looks well made, and I will check it out. And Bird Box Barcelona. I started this. I didn't finish it. It wasn't boring. I just wasn't that interested in watching it. But it's on Netflix right now. It is basically a sequel to Bird Box that doesn't have Sandra Bullock. Now, let's talk about the movies that I have seen that are new-ish to start. And that is, I forgot to mention a couple others. The After Party, which is out right now on Apple TV Plus. It started their new season. It's basically a detective series that has Sam Richardson, Tiffany Haddish, and Zoe Chow. I'm not sure which one. Each episode is a recounting of what happened that night of the murder, and each episode is told from a perspective of a character that does it in a certain genre. So, for instance, I tell you a story about what happened one night at a party, and it's done in an animated format while you ask questions for the next episode to my friend Tom, and Tom tells it to you in a rom-com sense. So it's pretty cool in that aspect. It's just the first half of the first season was and the second half made me go, okay, I dig this, and I will watch a season 2 if it comes out, and apparently it has. So Apple TV Plus, new episodes on Wednesdays. There's also The Fountain. I won't watch this. Maybe you'll be interested in it. Check it out. The trailer. It's new episodes Fridays on Apple TV Plus. Caller King, I will be checking out on BET Plus. It's a movie that stars Notori Naughton as a badass judge where an assault on a courtroom forces her hand at badassery. This movie looks dope. I'm pretty excited to watch it. Now, the new movies that I have watched. There we go. Insidious, The Red Door, which is Insidious, 5? It is a more of a direct sequel of chapters 1 and 2, even more so than chapter 3, which was chapter 3 and 4 were prequel movies to chapters 1 and 2. 3 brings back Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne. Rose Byrne is hardly in it. That was my biggest gripe. The biggest reason I wanted to see it was for her. She was hardly in it, but this movie is better than people let on, man. It's in a slower style. It could be, the pace could be picked up a little bit, and they could have a couple more jump scares, but its lack of jump scares kind of makes it a little scarier, if that makes sense. And it's revealed in a way where you don't need to watch the original movies in order to know what's going on, because characters that forgot what happened are discovering it along with the audience. So it was really cool in that aspect. It's an exceptional directorial debut of the star of the movie, Patrick Wilson. He did a great job with pacing, with editing, everything. And it didn't make sense to bring back both of the ghosts from movies 1 and 2, but it was very well done. I think that this is one of the best revival films I've seen in a long time, especially with horror. So I don't think you need to go out and pay for it. I will say, if you want a good date movie, this is worth it. You don't need to watch the other Insidii, but you should watch this. Now, the newest movie, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, is out in theaters right now. Ethan Hunt is back to kick some ass. And man, does Tom Cruise look old now? Not that old, and don't get me wrong. I'm sure he looks good for the age of 72 or whatever. And he's still doing more badass things than I will ever do or have ever done or would ever do, to be honest. So what did I think of this? Everyone loves it. Everyone thinks it's one of the best movies ever made. I got to say, writing, let's start with action. It's some of the best action you'll ever see. The chase scene in this is probably the best chase scene in all of the movies. This movie franchise does a really great job of one-upping themselves every time. Storyline wise, a different story. It devolves to worse and worse. One thing I really dug about this franchise at first were the first the first like 5 movies had a different director each time. The first 4. The first one is Brian De Palma, who did most famously Scarface and a few others, Black Dahlia, others as well. He didn't do the second one. Instead, John Woo did it. So it was a lot more different, and it had Tandaway Newton. Number 3 was done by J.J. Abrams, a lot different. And then 4 was done by Brad Bird, who did The Incredibles. Like, it's just way different styles. And now we're on to Christopher McQuarrie, who took over the last 3 or 4 movies and is doing Dead Reckoning Part 2. Academy Award nominated or winning screenwriter who's done such greatly written films like Way of the Gun, Usual Suspects, Valkyrie. He's a great writer. But man, the writing in this movie is fucking awful, dude. So basically, the MacGuffin is an AI that has a mind of its own. And when they talk about it, first of all, every action movie these days is about an AI that's uncontrollable. I mean, we are living in a world where AI is uncontrollable and it's changing the way of the future. So if anything, this movie is very on point with today's society in an interesting way. But man, the way they talk about it, this is the most unstoppable force that was ever created. Well, where is it? Nobody knows. What does it look like? Nobody knows. If this comes into the wrong hands, it'll be the end of the world. Like, it is that dialogue recycled in every scene. And it's just terrible lines like, I don't accept that mission. Like, it's like not in like a fun way, like old Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme films. It's like, it's a 3-hour course of this shit. There's more of that dialogue than there is action, which makes it somewhat unfucking bearable at times. So I got to say, the dialogue in this movie is trash. It made me want to leave the theater. But the action was stupendous. Usually Tom Cruise one-ups himself on stunts. I didn't find this stunt to look that cool in my eyes. Again, super cool if you know the person. But I guess the internet has such wild videos of people going on motorcycles and jumping off of a cliff and parachuting that you kind of get fatigued by the idea, which is nuts to say because that's a crazy thing to do. That's super dope, Tom Cruise. You're super dope for doing it. Just compared to the last shit that you did in previous films, it didn't look that crazy to me. And it sounds crazier that I'm critiquing you jumping off a fucking mountain. I'm just saying the other stunts look cooler. But the car chase scene was incredible. Probably the best car chase scene I've ever watched. It was so fucking well done. The end sequence with the train, I don't want to give away too much except to say that it definitely was stolen from Jurassic Park and Uncharted. It's okay because it looked really cool, but it definitely reminded me of The Lost World and Uncharted. The movies that become this movie leaned more into Ethan Hunt being a James Bond. The comedy in it was pretty good. There's unintentional comedy, like horrible lines. This movie franchise started to get bad with its dialogue. In the line 2 movies ago, Ethan Hunt is the physical manifestation of destiny. Once I heard that, I was like, whoa, that was a fucking hell of a line. And I gotta say, this movie is full of that shit. Luther and Benji are fun. Rebecca Ferguson is dope, but I wish she was in the movie more. Haley Atwell is a great addition. It's cool to see she plays a thief, and so she does know how to take care of herself, but she's always getting chased. And it's cool to see a civilian thrown into the Mission Impossible world. Palm Clementov, Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy. She's the best part of this movie. Awesome. Great job. I'm so excited for this actress to be in more films. But she's such a badass in this. And man, she's so good. She's so goddamn good. There are scenes in this movie that are very reminiscent of other movies. I went over Jurassic Park and others. But there is a sequence that reminds you of John Wick. It's a club sequence that reminds you of John Wick. The movie itself has very heavy Westworld vibes because of its storyline. And there are callbacks to previous movies like Dutch angles that are used excessively in this film that are used in Mission Impossible 1. There's a sandstorm that's referencing Mission Impossible 4. And there's some cool stuff in this. The train scene, very similar to Mission Impossible. So it does a lot of cool callbacks and everything. It's just my biggest gripe is the dialogue. Stop making movies 3 hours long, especially if you're making a 7th movie that's a 2-parter. Don't make part 1 3 hours long. Since we know there's a second movie, set it up, show us the action, give us less shitty writing. Do the MacGuffin thing. I don't care, but just stop writing so shittily. I also want to mention that this movie is very similar to Fast X. It's basically the same movie. Very unbelievable. But still, is it poppin'? I will say it's poppin'. It's just poppin' for action purposes, not for substance of character. Also, when I was walking out the film, this girl said, I couldn't tell who the main love interest was. There's so many women he was in love with, I couldn't keep up. It is funny. There's a sequence where he thinks he's about to die and he thinks of all the women in his life. And he literally thinks of like 17 women. And you're like, wait, which one is the one you're in love with? I'm confused. But it's whatever. It's okay. And also Ethan Hunt seemed to not really get pussy before this movie. Now this one, he's like a hunk. It's really strange, but it's dope. If you want to watch all the previous Mission Impossible movies, which I do recommend, they're all on Paramount Plus. My favorite one is either 1 or 3 or Fallout. But this movie is action wise, it's so fucking good. But it is probably my least favorite Mission Impossible. Check it out in theaters now. Full Circle is a new miniseries that airs 2 episodes every Thursday on Max. So there are 2 episodes out right now. I love this show. Stars Timothy Olyphant, Dennis Quaid, Claire Danes, Zazie Beetz, CCH Pounder, and directed by Steven Soderbergh. Very interesting multi-canvas storyline about a kidnapping gone wrong. I highly recommend it. It's just a miniseries. It's 2 episodes. Go check it out. It's on Max. I don't want to give you out too much information. What We Do in the Shadows, new season started on Wednesday, and you can watch the new episodes Wednesdays on FXX and Thursday on Hulu the next day after its previous premiere. You can tell I'm getting tired. Anyways, the show's great. Watch the movie if you haven't, which should be on Hulu. If it's not, that's stupid. I like the movie more, but the television series, I had low expectations and ended up way surpassing them. It's a very good show. I am ready for it to wrap up, but I do like the storyline because Guillermo may be a vampire. I don't know. I think he is. I think that's the consensus. Coming out next week is the much anticipated Barbenheimer, aka Barbie and Oppenheimer, opening the same week. It's going to be a special episode on Popcorn Poppin' where we go over Christopher Nolan movies, including Oppenheimer, with spoilers. But Barbie, I'm excited for too. Not as much as Oppenheimer, but I am very excited for Barbie. And I only watched like 10 seconds of the trailer and I was excited. But there's this new craze of going to see both movies in the same day. I really want to, but since I'm a good son, I'm taking my mom to see Oppenheimer. And as a good friend, I'm taking Mike Deere to see Barbie. I'm very, very excited for both. But Oppenheimer's going to be dope. They cloned Tyrone, which is currently in theaters now, but will be streaming on Netflix Friday. It stars Teyonah Parris, John Boyega, and Jamie Foxx. Hopefully, I hear he's doing better, by the way. And I don't know much about it. I watched 10 seconds of the trailer, and I was down. And just this picture alone, I was down. Very excited. I hear good things. Very excited to watch it. My highly anticipated show of the year, Justified City Primeval, which takes place in Detroit instead of Kentucky, starring Raylan Givens from Kentucky to Detroit. I'm rewatching the show right now. I'm currently in season 5. I don't think I'm going to finish the series before the miniseries. I'm going to try to get close to it anyway because I am going to watch the new episodes, and they air Tuesday at 10 p.m. on FXX, streaming on Hulu Wednesdays the next day. This is supposed to be a miniseries, but Timothy Olyphant says that if the show is successful enough, they'll do more seasons of it, so we'll see. Minx returns. It was canceled, but it was picked back up by Starz, and it's airing Fridays at 9 p.m. on Starz. Very excited for this new season. And finally, Special Ops Lioness. I didn't know about this show until a trailer dropped a week or so ago. Stars Zoe Saldana, Nicole Kidman, and Morgan Freeman. This looks pretty good. Doesn't look like my type of show, but I'll watch it for Zoe Saldana alone. Sundays on Paramount Plus. I don't know if it aired today or if it's airing next week. I think it's airing next week. Either way, it looks interesting. Looks interesting. All right, that's it. Look out for that Oppenheimer video. That'll be coming out soon. Sketches are being formed. Jermaine Higgins Productions is heading into a new direction. I'm very excited to show you what I got cooking. But for now, I'll see you at the